Most children who have autism, if they go to a public school, they have what's called an IEP, an individualized education plan. And in those plans are goals. And what you want from all of your goals is for them to be what's called SMART goals. And in this episode, we're going to talk about what makes your goals SMART. So, IEP goals that are considered SMART are, of course, it's an acronym, just like everything else in special education: specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. So, what we're going to do today is we're going to break those down a little bit so that you understand what the differences are and what makes your goals SMART. Okay, so the first one we're going to talk about is specific. It needs to be specific to your child. It should not be the same goal as every other student gets in their class. And it shouldn't be the same goals as they had the year before. So you need to take a look at your plan and make sure when you have a new IEP, so, every year you have a new plan, every year you come together with the team and you develop a new annual IEP, pull out last year's IEP and see, are these goals the same as they were last year? Were they very specific? Did they really speak to the needs of my child? Or, I don't know, maybe does this sound like some other kid? They should be very specific to that child, and they should be very specific as to what they're asking the child to do. If they're too generic and seem like, if a teacher picked up that IEP that had never met that student before, if that teacher would look at that goal and be like, I don't know what they're asking me to measure, then it's a problem. And it is not a good specific goal. So you do not want vagueness in your IEP goals. For instance, if the goal is the student Joey is going to improve in school this coming year. Improve in what? What does Joey have to do at the end of the year's time in order to say, oh, Joey mastered that goal? Okay, so they need to be very specific. And it doesn't matter if you're talking about reading, writing, math, social interaction, peer development skills, independent functioning skills, behavior, communication, use of technology, you name it. The goals need to be very specific to what they're actually asking the child to master and to be able to do in a year's time. Measurable. You have to be able to measure it. If you can't measure it, then it's not really a goal. It might be an idea, it might be a hope, but it's certainly not a SMART goal if you cannot measure it. And so within each goal, you should have like how often the child has to do it, whatever the it is, for what length of time, how often per day, at what % accuracy. Another good thing to keep in mind is it should be to 80%. In order for any of us to say that we have mastered something, like we really know how to do it, we should be able to do it 80% of the time, or with 80% accuracy every time that we do it. If we can't, we might have gotten better at it, but we really truly can't say that we've mastered it if we don't do it at least 80%. So be cautious of those goals to make sure that they're not, 50-50. So if your goal, and sometimes the goals sound really good, and you think, oh, okay, so I like the way this sounds, but then it says 1 out of 2 opportunities. Oh, that's a 50-50 shot. You could just roll the dice, and you might actually be able to win with those type of odds. So you want to make sure that it's truly measurable and that you know what you're measuring, again, so that if another teacher, because chances are good, you guys will not have the same teacher year to year. I know that a lot of kids with autism who are in these special program classrooms, a teacher may roll over for 2 years, sometimes 3 years, which I don't know, that's not always a great idea, because that's typically not how life is. And the goal of school for all kids, no matter who they are, is to prepare them for one of 2 things: either employment, right, or post-secondary education. So when you think about your goals, think about, are these goals leading my child, who may be young, maybe older, maybe they're 18 years old, Is it helping them to get to that next level? So one of those two things. Now, many people will come out of high school and go into a volunteer position, and that's okay too. And if that's what you want to do, then that's fabulous. But at the same time, everybody needs to be given opportunities. And so we should really, the goal should be either on post-secondary education or employment. Okay, so the next one for the A is achievable. They should be able to achieve the goal within a year's time. You should not have goals on your IEP that roll over year after year after year. But at the same time, you do not want to make your goals so low that they're easily achievable. It needs to be a thoughtful process of what goes into writing IEP goals. The team should come together beforehand as the educators and really discuss, what do we think? How can we stretch this child? How can we give them opportunities to make greater progress this year than they made last year? What is it that we need to change in the way that we're doing things so that we can yield a better outcome? As parents, if you live in a district that doesn't give you a draft of the IEP, the new IEP in advance, ask for one. Ask to see the draft a couple days before the meeting so that you can sit at home and kind of look at it while things are quiet in your home. The kids have gone to bed, sit on the couch and just study it and be looking for the goals and how achievable are they. So there is a fine line when it comes to achievement, because you want the goals to be achieved in a year, but you don't want the goals to be achieved in 2 months. And so they need to be rigorous. There was a case a couple of years ago called the Andrew case. And Andrew was a student whose parents filed a due process case because they felt like the child was not getting a rigorous education. And in the final of that, Judge Roberts claimed that, it was a Supreme Court case, that de minimis is basically no education at all. And de minimis means barely making progress. So that really was a landmark case that told us that you can't just expect a kid to make this little minute amount of progress. And there may be families that are watching me or listening to me and thinking, oh, you don't understand my child and their needs. Every child can make progress if their IEP goals are written appropriately and they have the type of services on their IEP to get them to the level that is appropriate for them. No two children are going to move along at the same pace, even though we have these state standards that tend to tell us that they do not. And for kids with autism, they may take a little bit longer on certain things, and that's okay, but they should still be making meaningful progress in school. So again, refer to your previous IEP, make sure that you're not looking at the same goals year after year after year. The goals should be relevant. So that's our R. Okay, so you want to make sure that they are relevant. And again, if you think of nothing more than, is this goal relevant towards getting my child moving towards post-secondary education, which could be trade school, vocational school, a culinary type of program, something that is a specific certification, or college. It could be a local college. It could be a program within a college. It could be even higher ed, looking at universities and specialty schools, or employment. So if the goal is really not very relevant to my child making that next step or learning the skills that they need in life, for instance, I don't know, being able to make their own breakfast, being able to get dressed, things like that, that really bring relevancy to their lives because it helps them to become more independent individuals. I have never met an adult with any type of disability that said that they liked being dependent upon others. I have met many adults with disabilities who need other people to assist them. And that is one of the things that they wish that they could overcome. And sometimes because of physical limitations, especially, they're not able to, that they need the extra support. But I've never talked to anybody who says that they want to be dependent. And it is our job as educators and teachers to help children in general become as independent as they possibly can. I'm not independent. I would venture to guess that most of you are not independent. We all need people around us to support us in one way or another. But you need to pay attention to your IEP goals to make sure that they are relevant to the life that you see moving forward for your child and the milestones that they are achieving. So the last little letter in this lovely little acronym for SMART is the T, which is time bound. Goals should be mastered within a year's time. And it goes back to what I said about, you shouldn't be looking at the same goal year after year after year. You want to make sure that the goals are relevant, that they're rigorous, that they're time bound, and all these lovely things that we talk about when we talk about SMART goals, but also that there is an end, right? You don't want goals to be going on and on, because if you have goals on your IEP that's going on and on, that means that something is broken. And that thing that's broken is not your child. It is a system. It is maybe negligence on the part of the school to achieve and to discover the way that your child learns and to obtain. Sometimes that means that they have to purchase a specific type of curriculum, that they have to train teachers on how to implement the curriculum. But it is important that you know that you have rights as a parent. And if your child does not have SMART goals, they do not have services and supports and accommodations to get them to the next level that you know that they can achieve. Or maybe you're not even sure that they can achieve it. But by you being part of the discussions that are taking place at these meetings, talking about their strengths and their weaknesses, you guys can write goals that are meaningful, that will get your child to the next level, and hopefully towards a more successful adulthood as that comes upon them. I hope that you got some tidbits of information during this little talk today on our REACH program, and that you will click the like, click the bell, or follow along, share this link with other people that you know within the community. As we further develop these programs, I hope that you will reach out to us. You can check out our website at autismfl.org. Super easy to find. We are on social media as well. And you can share the information and let us know. So give us some feedback. Give us some feedback, not only on this episode, but what you would like to see covered. And it's really important that we have everybody remember that the connection is you. And by remaining connected with our communities within and on the outside of our communities as well, that we can have a broader reach and help more people and families inside and on the outside of the autism community.